am Alethea Felton, and welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast. If you're struggling in your life with self-sabotaging and negative thoughts that leave you feeling stuck and limit you from moving forward, I can help you. As a holistic health and empowerment coach, I help people identify, challenge, and conquer those thoughts in order to make simple and practical changes to improve overall wellness. Let's remove those limitations, for the time is now to create your power transformation. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. I am so happy that you have decided to join me today. I am super thrilled and excited that this is the first episode for November. Y'all, we are coming up on almost a year of the Power Transformation Podcast. This podcast launched December 7th of 2022, and we are already in November. The day this episode drops is November 1st, 2023, and I am absolutely thrilled. And y'all, you know what? Thank you. It is because of you that this podcast continues to grow and expand. And I continue to encourage you to share the Power Transformation Podcast with as many people as you know. This podcast will become a household name. I am telling you that. I'm not sure exactly how or when, but mark my words, this podcast will be one of the top ranked podcasts globally. It will be syndicated. I am believing and affirming that. And it is because of you. It's not for my own glory, but it is so that people can know that they have the power from within to transform their lives, and that there is something about your life right now that is absolutely remarkable if you look within. And I use holistic mind, body, and soul techniques to help you really understand that power from within. We're going to jump right into this. I want you to share this episode with at least 3 people that you know. Share it. Let people know about it. We want as many people as possible to be a part of the Power Transformation community. And we always start this podcast with an affirmation, because we are speaking those things as if they are. No matter your circumstances, we are declaring with our mouths and speaking things into the atmosphere so that they come to pass. So I will say the affirmation once, and then you repeat it. I trust and believe that everything is always working out for my highest good. Oh my goodness, everybody. Today's guest is definitely someone that I am so honored to have on the Power Transformation Podcast. She is a creative. She is an influencer. And y'all, I'm going to put it out there. She is one of my cousins, none other than Danae Edmonds. Hey, Danae.
Hi.
Yes.
So excited. Yeah, it's going to be so fun.
Yes, it is going to be fun. Oh, and she's my soror also. That is very important. We are members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the first and the finest. Yes, indeed. And she is, but I want to backtrack. I did say she is my cousin. Yes, she is. She is one of my cousins from my really, really large family. And she is just amazing. And the way we are related, as I have shared with my platforms and everything else, I'm not sure if I've really stated it on the podcast, but I have done genealogy for the past 30 years, literally since I was 12 years old. I am 42 now. Danae and I are related because her great grandfather and my grandmother were brother and sister. So that's how we are related. So pretty much her grandfather was my great uncle. So that is how we are kin to each other. So we are close cousins. But more often than that, she is one of the most, and I mean this, she is one of the most spectacular, extraordinary people I have ever known in my life. She means so much to me. She helped start me on a lot of my entrepreneurial journey when I was trying to do branding some years back, when she was once in that space really actively. And I needed her on this podcast because of her journey, her story, and just a lot of the transformation she's gone through in her whole life. So that's a really deep introduction. I usually don't go that far, but I wanted to put up front for her my own personal take on who she is as this outstanding human being that I think everybody needs to know. Danae, I always start with a random question. My guests don't ever know what I'm going to ask, but this is what I want to ask you is, Danae, who is one of your, I won't say but who is one of your favorite writers or authors and why?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. I feel like I don't have one that just like comes out. I'm trying
Okay.
to think. First, I'm trying to think of like what's my favorite book.
Okay, you want to answer that
Well, I
instead?
just think that I just feel like I need to start there and then figure out like who's my
Okay.
favorite.
So what's one of your favorite books? Okay, yeah, let's switch it then. What's one of your favorite books and what makes that one of your favorite books?
I've been reading a lot lately, so well, I do a lot of audiobooks mostly, but I think my favorite book, um, right now, one that has always kind of sat with me is called Big Magic. It's by Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the lady that did Eat, Pray, Love, and like she has some other works as well. But Big Magic is just like one of my favorite books. Um, I'm sorry, we have to start over. So I love Big Magic. That's fine. But my favorite writer actually is this guy. His name is Johnny Sun.
Okay.
I don't know why it took me a minute to get to that, and his book
It's
is released
okay.
because I love him. Um,
Mm.
he's a writer, but his stuff is very different. It's like mostly like insights and like essays and like I don't I don't like poetry, which is people usually get very upset when I say that. Because it just seems like something I would like, but I do not like it. But he has like it's like essays, reflections, and illustrations in like all of his books. He has two that I've read so far, and I just feel like the way that he summarizes things, it feels like someone's actually in my brain. You know, it feels so relatable, especially I think for me, someone that has anxiety. That I've had anxiety my whole life. I did not know that that's what it was. I just was like, oh, I just live through life this way. But he is just like really good at kind of like working through how people with anxiety think a lot. So I would say he's my favorite writer, Johnny Sun.
Well, thank you. And look, it's fine that we had to kind of do backwards. When I was a teacher, that was considered backwards planning, where you kind of start from the back to kind of move your way up front. So it's totally okay. It's totally all right, whichever way it works.
It's like I have a lot of different, and it's hard because for me, I feel like my favorite people usually I would like for them to be, you know, like minorities or women or something. So I feel like we need to have some kind of like shared experience, and I find that with Big Magic, which is a beautiful, brilliant book, and that was the first one I had mentioned. That's my favorite book. But I find some of it not relatable in like other areas of my life. You know, it's a very privileged white woman, so she experiences life through that lens, which is like not my reality. You know, so I think with Johnny, he's an Asian man, which is weird because he is also, you wouldn't imagine that we have much in common, but I just think the way that he writes and the way that he notices like little things in life, that just, it really resonates with me really strongly. So he's my favorite.
Wow, thank you. And, just in you stating that, it'll put others on into authors that maybe they hadn't considered before. So you just never know how it'll open up. I know for a fact, I too read quote unquote, a lot of books on Audible. So I love audiobooks. I process them better that way. And it's still reading, and reading is very important. And of course, my sister, Dina, is a bookworm true and true. So even when she hears those authors, she'll probably be inclined to even check them out. And I read a lot of nonfiction. I like to write fiction, but I read nonfiction more often than not, which is interesting. And there are other authors who have done the same. For example, the late author Toni Morrison, she wrote mainly fiction books, but she was known to love nonfiction, autobiographies, books on personal development, things of that nature. So I just wanted to start off with that. So now I'm going to segue into another question, getting more into the heart of what we're going to be talking about today. And the way that I'll start this is, this might be a little loaded too, but it's no pressure because you know yourself more than anybody. But who is Danae Edmonds? How would you describe yourself in a nutshell from any direction you would go?
I think the first thing I would say is that I'm very kind, and it's almost to my detriment. Like I wish I was less nice. Like I would like to be a little bit harder. But so I feel like that's the first thing that comes to mind. And I feel like also if you ask me this literally another, like maybe like yesterday or tomorrow, my answer might be different. Mm-hmm. But I think at my core, I'm just like a very kind person. I'm very creative. I love my family and my friends like really heavily, but I'm also an introvert. So I need a lot of time by myself, and I crave that. Usually it's like even once I go out and I'm with people, I don't want to go. That's the first thing. So I have to work myself up to leaving the house. And then it's like once I'm out, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm really enjoying myself. And then I find myself being like, oh, I'm just counting down until I get to go back home because I just love being home. I like to hang out with my little dog. I'm a dog mom.
Yes.
I'm a sleep survivor, so I feel like that has played a big role in my life. And it's weird because I haven't had an active, like it hasn't been an active part of my life since 2019. And I would like to keep it that way. I would like for that to be in my past, but it is still like a way that I experience life, I guess. So yeah, I'm creative, introverted. I love my family. I try to be really kind. I try to just handle people very delicately because you never know what people are going through. So my first reaction is very rarely violence or like to cut someone out, even though I feel like I need to add a little bit more of that into me because I feel like sometimes people take advantage of my kindness. But yeah, I think that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your kindness, but I don't ever want it to get so cold and stern where it's opposite of who you are. We don't want you catching a case or anything like that. So
right. I mean, it's like when I think about that stuff, it's like it's very rarely worth me losing my cool. Mm-hmm. But I think people need the reminder that I can lose my cool. I choose not to. That's right. And I think that's something that I want to work on, finding a better balance of like having both things be true, because I think, like I said, I think people have taken advantage of my kindness in ways that I just, in hindsight, I'm like, I could have been more assertive, or maybe I could have done something differently to like prevent that from happening.
So in terms of something that was once a really active part of your life, but now there's a shifting happening. What I want to also kind of bring out is, although you say that you're kind, something else that I'll put out there is that you're a humble person. And something that my pastor will always say is that if a person described themselves as humble, then they really aren't, because humility is something that others are supposed to say about you. You aren't supposed to say, I'm a humble person. And you are humble in a sense, not weak, not a pushover. But y'all, I'm saying she's humble because Danae has done so much in her life so far that even people that are twice her age may not have even done. And what I am speaking about is I want to shift now into talking specifically about something called aspiring co, that I think is one of the most outstanding things that has ever existed. And Danae, could you let the audience know what exactly aspiring co is, what your vision was for it, and just what it does in a nutshell? What does that mean?
Sure. So Aspiring Co. Is I guess like another iteration of like this kind of calling that I felt for a while. So I have been interviewing women and non-binary folks and just kind of learning more about their lives, their careers, and then just putting their stories on the Aspiring Co website, which is currently down, mostly because I'm just thinking I'm in like a weird phase of just trying to figure out what I'm doing with that. Um, so I have been doing these interviews for a very long time. I looked back, I think the first time I interviewed a creative person was back in like 2009, I think. And that was through like, I had a little blog that I was just kind of keeping up, I think. I had it through the end of high school into college. And then, so I would just kind of write my feelings or whatever. And I did an interview on there, and it was this like woman that was like a purse maker, and I just thought it was so cool that out of everything that someone could be, that she was just like making these bags, and they were really like very like art focused bags, I would say, kind of like a canvas
Mm-hmm.
bag with like a painting or something on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I was just like really interested in like learning about her process, and so from there, I think I just wanted to profile people. And at first, I called these people like it girls, which was just kind of like the first thing that came to my mind. Because I guess like when you see people, you're like, oh, I wonder how this person does, whatever it is that they do, either for their career, and like how does that kind of like transition into like their larger life. Um, but then I think as I kind of grew as a person, and I became more aware of just like different gender expressions, I did not want it to be limited by that term girl. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out another angle here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think um, what ultimately kind of came from that is I call everyone dream chasers now, which I really enjoy because there's no gender. And I think also it feels more active, like you're taking an active role in how your life kind of plays out. Whereas aspiring on its own, you can be an aspiring anything. That doesn't mean you're working towards like I
Uh, I see.
I think the vision that I had initially was just um like never being at a point where you're like finished. Like we're kind of like always learning, always developing, always making improvements. So I liked aspiring because it felt like it was more incomplete, like you're working towards something. And I don't feel like we ever really get to where we're trying to go necessarily. And sometimes that post kind of changes too. So like you might think that you want to be something, and then kind of in your journey towards that you realize that, oh, that's actually not what I want to be or whatever. So aspiring just felt more open-ended, I guess. Whereas now dream chasers I really like because it feels more active. So like you're working towards your dream, you're like actively chasing it and like doing whatever you have to do to get there.
And I like how you explained that, because I think sometimes people will start something and think it has to be locked into that, and don't necessarily know or sense when it's time to flow into another direction or realm. And I think that's quite liberating. And for you to recognize that, okay, it started here, but people also have to understand visions evolve and dreams evolve. So although it might start off looking like A, it could end up looking like D by the time it's over. And so even now with where you are in terms of when we spoke offline and I was talking about, okay, how do you want to be addressed? What do you want to be called? Because there was a time and a space when you were focused solely, or I wouldn't say solely, but heavily on your entrepreneurial journey. And you became an entrepreneur in your 20s. I don't keep up with anybody's ages. You'll always be locked in your 20s to me, even when you're 60 and I'm in my 80s. So I have no idea how old you are now. You might still be in your 20s. You might not. Have no
I'm
clue.
31. I'm
You're
31.
see,
So
look,
yeah, we
you're
made it.
31.
We also can thank the Lord.
See?
Because that was a time. And I mean, I learned a lot during that time of my life, but I think I have learned above all to listen to my body and like what my body needs.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned being a stroke survivor. So I think
Yes.
that
So pause really quickly. Wait. Did you all hear that? She literally just said she is a stroke survivor. And she said that so gently and calmly. She has survived multiple strokes, just not one. She survived 3 strokes, y'all. Did you hear me? 3. Again, she is a humble, sweet. Oh my God, I love Danae. No shade to any of my other cousins, but they're just certain cousins in my family, especially a lot of them from this younger generation who are just the coolest people. And I feel special because they still see me kind of as cool, and I like that. But Danae I so admire her. Y'all, she said she had 3 strokes, and I want to talk about that, right? That's a good segue. I didn't know when to bring it in exactly. But let's kind of come back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So
say it just kind of naturally comes up. And I think for me, being able to transition into kind of like not being an entrepreneur, it is related, I think, to my strokes, just because when you are working for yourself, there's a lot of expenses that you have to take on. So, like, insurance is a big one, and at least in this country. And Obamacare was just like not working for me. So, like, it's a great resource for people, but it just wasn't a great one for me because it was too expensive, and then my deductibles were way too high. So it just didn't make sense for me to pay for health insurance and have these insanely high deductibles. And it's like I'm struggling to pay it, every month. So it just wasn't worth it. So that's just like one aspect of entrepreneurship that I think is really hard. And in addition to like health insurance, just like all of the admin stuff is just like not my ministry. I don't want to do it. It's like I can do it, but it's really hard. It takes a lot of effort, and that effort is to be better spent just like creating things. So I just felt like it was not serving the life that I wanted for myself anymore. Like I love aspects of it. I mean, there's still aspects of it that I really enjoy, like being able to just like make your own schedule and stuff like that. But I have found that you can also find a job that allows you to do that, and have the resources of like a paycheck and like insurance to support yourself so that you're able to show up in your creativity, in the best way and like in a more full way. Granted, you might be a little depleted from like juggling a full-time job too. But I think for me, it's just a better fit because I have my basics covered, and like I have insurance, I have a paycheck, I'm able to kind of do that stuff and then still pour into my business or my brand, I guess. Yeah.
what gave you, and maybe you don't view it like this, but I do. What gave you the courage to say, you know what? I've done so much. Just the fact you were an entrepreneur in your 20s speaks volumes because it's not for the faint of heart. I've been in entrepreneurship now for approximately 20 years in some shape or form. And yeah, I attest to you, it's hard, especially when you're juggling a full-time job, but also when you're in a space when you're not. And so it's quite a lot. But keeping in this kind of space where I'm almost kind of getting as more so flow, alignment, doing things with ease. What gave you the courage to say, this is no longer really serving me? And although I had a great run at it, my life isn't over. I don't know what the future can hold. But now I know it's time to kind of kind of put a pause on that and really shift outside of that? What gave you the courage to actually say, yeah, let's kind of put this on the back burner? And I ask that because there are some people right now who could be stuck in that realm as to it might not be entrepreneurship, but it could be something where they're holding on to something, knowing good and well it's no longer serving them. So how did you actually have the courage to act on it?
I think I was just like really fed up with just like the way that life was going, you know. So I was living in my grandmom's house because in my mind I did not think that I could be an entrepreneur and afford to live on my own and like take care of myself and have like bills. So I was like, let me figure out how I can lessen this load as much as possible. So I moved into my grandmom's house and I paid her rent sometimes, but also there were times that I was not able to and I did not. Um, and so that was one of the ways I was able to kind of work through that. And she didn't live, I want to be clear, she didn't live in the house. She lived out of state. So it was just like
Okay.
me there. And I was living with a cousin who I asked to move in with me. It was just like not a good living situation. I just remember being really frustrated and just being like, God, how am I going to get out of this? And I had absolutely no idea how I could afford to like leave that situation. I just remember praying and just like wanting a different reality. And I think it was at the point where I felt like I had nothing, you know, it's like I just have to figure out something else because this is not working, it's not serving me. Um, so I just like prayed, and then out of nowhere, I applied for a job, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna. I feel like before bed, I was just like get on Twitter, and I saw someone was hiring for Stacey Abrams' campaign, and I had always looked at people doing campaign work, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I don't know how
Yeah.
people just like decide, oh, I'm going to work in politics now. I have several friends that have had done it like in college, but no one that I ever felt like, oh, I could just like ask them, hey, how did you get into this? You know, so I just kind of I saw the application and I was like, I'm going to apply to this, and I admitted I was like, okay, I think I had maybe like I wanted to turn it in within like 2 days of seeing it because I just really wanted to have like a good chance of getting the job. So I applied, and the lady that had posted it, she was like, "Oh, if you apply, DM me." So I DM'd her. I was like, "Hey, I applied." So that happened, and I think it was that one step of just trusting that God was just going to take care of it, that it just kind of worked out. So like I ended up not getting that job or working on that campaign, but
Uh-huh.
they introduced me to another campaign which was in Colorado. And I was like, that's very far. And I've never in a million years thought that I would live here. Um, but I was like, all right, I have nothing to lose at this point. I'm asking God to make a way. I'm tired of, you know, struggling, I'm tired of all this stuff. And I'm gonna just go for it. And so I did. And then I ended up moving to Denver, and I've been here. It's been um it's been a little over a year. I've been here for like a year and a half at this point, and I just renewed my lease. So I'll be here for another year or two, so that'll be fun too. But yeah, I
Wow.
just kind of prayed about it, and I knew that I was at a point where I was fed up, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I think the power of this prayer, at least at this point in my life, was that I had no idea how God was going to be able to move because I had nothing. I had absolutely no resources, and I was just like, I can't stay here anymore. So I feel like I was working. I was working a part-time job at that time and freelancing, and I feel like the freelancing it was kind of at like a lull. So I was like, okay, I don't really have clients at this point, so let me just so I just was able to move. And I feel like I used my little money for my last paycheck from my job. And I drove my car and my dog and my friend who drove to Colorado. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna start over. And it's like I moved into an Airbnb because at the time I couldn't find an apartment. It happened like pretty quickly, I guess. And so looking for an apartment in Denver from Raleigh was just like not really possible. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I could find stuff. It was just like it felt like really difficult. So I found this Airbnb that I really liked. And I was like, oh, I just hope it's in like a good area of town. But I also was like, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm not really worried about it. So I just booked the Airbnb. Turned out to be like a beautiful place. I stayed there for like 6 months, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, in hindsight, I'm like, I would have probably just booked it for like a month or two and then looked for an apartment. I could have probably saved a lot of money. But at the time, I was like, I just need to have a home, like a home base. So it worked out the way it did. And I just don't, I think praying at a point where I feel like I have always thought that I had to have some kind of solution ready for God. And I'm like, hey, can you help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
But this, I didn't have anything in mind. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I just need a change of pace, a new kind of thing I was tired of. And I had been looking for full-time jobs, probably that whole, like from January until May when I got hired on the campaign. I had
Mm-hmm.
been looking for jobs and nothing was really coming into play. I was working part-time at a nonprofit in Raleigh, and I was trying to get on and like do some marketing stuff with them. I wanted to have like a job with them. I mean, I was open to that being a possibility, but I really like I've been applying for stuff for a while and nothing was working out. And it's like literally all at once I had the campaign job and I was interviewing for another job that was in Raleigh. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm gonna just take a chance and we'll see. And I think I had maybe like I had a job. I got offered a job in Atlanta. I got offered the job here in Denver, and then I was in the process of interviewing for a job in Raleigh that I felt like would probably also work out. And I remember I had my iPad and I just made like a chart and I just wrote the city name and then PC and just like listed pros and
Pros and
cons for each.
cons. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Uh-huh.
just I think part of my anxiety just helped me to just like list everything out and to just see it all there. And I just prayed about it and I was like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm hoping that I get to explore all these options individually and just kind of see what is the best fit. Like so can see if I have a preference. And I knew that I did not want to really stay in Raleigh. Um, because it probably would have been a harder conversation to be like, hey, to my cousin, hey, I don't want to live with you anymore, so I'm gonna move across town. That would have been weird.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to do that. And then Atlanta just felt too familiar because I went to college in Georgia, like an hour south of Atlanta, and I have most of my friends from college still live either in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia or in Atlanta. So I felt like that would be too familiar, and I felt like I really just needed a fresh start. So I was like, we're just gonna go to Denver, I guess, and that's what I did.
Wow, girl, I am so glad that you shared the entire journey because that is such a bold move to be somewhere that's familiar, not know what's next for you, and then to just take that leap of faith, literally, to just go with the flow and end up where you're supposed to be to literally start a new life altogether. That is quite powerful. And what do you think led you to the point of getting there? And what I mean is not literal events, but looking at who you were, say, in your 20s to when you hit 30, was there something in you that said, okay, now is the time where I can do this because I've built enough resilience in myself? So what about you and your character traits or your personality kept you moving forward with making that transition as opposed to holding you back? What in it about you transformed?
I think I just learned to listen to myself and trust my intuition, which to me comes in many forms. I was having these dreams. I don't think I ever told you this. I was having these dreams, and they were just like I could just see myself exploring some city, and I thought it was Raleigh this whole time because I had no other frame of reference, I guess. So I think I just learned to really trust myself. So I was having these dreams, and I was like, okay. Um, it just felt like I was in a place that had just like a bunch of different neighborhoods, and like I was like, oh well, if we're gonna go get coffee, we can go to like this little neighborhood, and like there's a shop here. But there was like so many options. I just remember seeing all these different places. And I also remember seeing my grandmother in my dreams, Lenora. I was seeing her,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I just know that whatever I'm doing, she's supposed to be a part of it. Like she's gonna come visit or whatever, and
Wow.
it's gonna be the thing that we do. Um, so I think I just had to learn to really just trust myself and God. And it's like I've lived through so much, you know. I feel like if none of the three strokes took me out,
Yes,
like I'm still
girl.
here for a reason. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yes.
I just knew that there was more to my life than sitting miserable in my grandmom's house. So I had to just trust that like everything that I've been through, every lesson I've learned is preparing me for something bigger. But I honestly still don't even know what that thing is. I
Mm-hmm.
just trust that it's coming. Um,
Girl, you and me both, because I told you some of my journey, but this isn't about me today. But I can relate about that part about being obedient to what God is speaking and showing, but not really quite knowing the full why or the full picture or what's next. I
I have no
totally get
part of the
that.
picture, just
And
no part. It's like these
yeah.
little fragments of my dreams that I can barely remember, but it's like
Mhm.
I can kind of see it, but I it's like stuff that I and I'm like part of me is like I don't even know if this stuff is real or if I've just kind of like imagined it, but it
Mhm.
feels like it was real. You know, these dreams they feel very real to me. So
I
I was like, that's
understand. Yeah.
yes.
And for anybody in the audience listening, because I have such a diverse listening group, you might not understand the concept of God or prayer. It's okay. You know, everybody is at different places and spaces, but with this platform, I let everybody, all of my guests speak their truth. And I relate completely to what my cousin is saying because of the fact for us and our respective experiences, God and prayer have really been our guides and have led us through this journey. And this could be a totally different episode in and of itself, but I want to kind of backpedal because I'm sure it's still in some people's back of their heads. You've you're still here after 3 strokes
Mhm.
at 31 years of age.
Yes.
With I don't necessarily want you to tell everything because it's quite a journey, but I do want to speak on this because I know people right now who are living through sickness, who have had some really tough health challenges. I've been reading on Facebook, even with certain people on my own friends list who are going through some pretty tough times right now when it comes to their health and not knowing what's what from day to day. But I'm also seeing from some of them a lot of resilience and determination despite what's happening to them health wise. So, this question for you, Danae, is despite having had 3 strokes that have all been pretty serious, what is it about the fact that you had those strokes? What lessons have you learned from surviving through those strokes that have led you to be who you are today?
I'm just sitting with this question. It's I'm gonna answer it, but it's gonna be a little. You're gonna have to stick
It's
with me.
okay. Answer
Okay.
it the way that you want.
My dad has always. I was talking to him recently, and he was like, "You've just always been the most determined person ever." And it's like for no reason, I've just always had this insane determination, and I really I don't know where it comes from or like why I have it, but I have just always been very determined. And so I think for me with my strokes, I've always known that I have like a larger thing I'm trying to accomplish. And it's like until that feels done, I'm just gonna keep so like I guess I guess I could have just probably like not been so determined. But I think when I had my first stroke, I was in college. It was my senior year, second semester. So I was like pretty much done, you know. I was like over this whole college thing. I'm trying to move on to at the time it was grad school. But I felt like I didn't have the option to just like not finish or like not move forward, you know. At that point, I was like mostly done with college. And I just wanted to graduate. That's all I wanted to do. So I think I was told that my options were that I could finish the semester out, or I could go back next fall, like the following fall, and finish out the semester. And I was like, you know what? I'm actually really over this, so I'm absolutely not doing that. I'm finishing this thing because
Yeah.
I made it this far. There's
Uh-huh.
no option for me to like not finish at this point. Um, so yeah, I really wanted to just be done, and I feel like that was what pushed me through. That I was just like very determined to be done with college on time, which time doesn't really matter, but it was more so the fact that I was just like done with the experience. I felt like I had done enough, and I was like ready to move on. And then the second one, when I had the second one, it was right before I was moving out of my parents' home. So
And
I
you
was
can laugh at it now.
it's hilarious now. I'm glad you caught me laughing. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, I was trying to move out my parents' house, and I wanted that more than anything. I graduated. I graduated college in May 2013. I had one class I had to take over the summer so I could have enough credits to graduate. But like I walked and everything. This is my diploma. I think that August. Um, so then I'm at my parents' house for like a year. Um, it was the longest year of my life. It was just like not a good fit, you know. I'm like, I'm grown, leave me alone. I'm tired of doing dishes. I don't answer to anyone, you know. Like I'm on that. And my parents are just like, I'm sure they were just like trying their best, you know, to be good parents.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's just like not a healthy living situation for me anymore. I was just like very over it. So I got my first job, like my first like real job. I had been working, but I think I got laid off from the first position I had out of college. And then I was like, so then I was laid off. I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on creating Aspiring Co was called something else at that time. I felt like working on that. And then I started working another job. I think I had interviewed in like February. I didn't start until probably like April or May. And so it's like I got my first paycheck, and I think I got my car, and then right after I got my car, I was like, all right, it's time for me to move out. So let me see what I can afford. So I'm like looking for options. And I don't think my family was thrilled about the idea of me living on my own, but I didn't care. I was like, I have to do this. I just know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to be here.
And really quickly, how old were you then at your second stroke? How old were you?
Probably like 21 or 22.
Okay.
Like 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 22.
Okay.
I had the first one, and it was right before I turned 21.
Yeah.
Which that really sucked. I was just like, because I felt like I wasn't able to drink the way that most 21-year-olds are able to drink.
Yeah.
So I was just like not a fan of that. I was like, this sucks. I hate this. I got to take these stupid pills, and I can't drink good. And I was like, over that experience.
And so
I think I was
22 with your second one. Okay,
yeah,
so as you were looking for a place to live and things like that.
Yeah, I found my place. I found a place. I think I had just signed my lease, and I was preparing like furniture and stuff to take into the apartment with me. So I came home from work, and I went to the mailbox to get the mail. And when I get to the mailbox, the key just looks like it doesn't. It just looked weird to me. I was like, oh, something is happening. This is not correct. And I remember I couldn't figure out how to get the key in the hole through the mailbox.
Wow.
So once I figured it out, I was like, okay, got it. So then I get all the mail, and the mail, it keeps falling. And I'm like, why is the mail, like, I'm looking back at it like a trail of mail behind me on the sidewalk. And I was just like, why is this happening? And then it hit me. I was like, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. So now I'm pissed. Like I was just like very bad. Wow. So the first one I didn't care because I didn't know what it was. And we can unpack that later. So the second one, I'm just like really angry because I'm like, why is this happening to me? I'm supposed to be moving out. I'm trying to come in the house. I have to work on my furniture. I have very clear goals. I'm like, I'm not trying to deal with this right now. I just remember being very angry. And my mom, I'm like crying and like just like really pissed, crying, just like a whole scene. My mom was like, come in and sit down. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I sit down, and my dog comes and runs, and he's like jumping and trying to like lick my face. And I was like, okay, Ziggy, which I love him. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But at this point, the fire department's here. So now we have to put Ziggy away because they're trying to check me out and he's not interested in that happening. So it was just like very, very traumatic. But also I was determined because I had something to do. So I think now that I'm sitting down and like actually like recalling this stuff, it was always I had something else that I was like trying to get to or get through. So this one was I was trying to move out on my own. And then my third one was I was trying to go to Forbes to present my
Yes.
business. So it's like all of them, I feel like I didn't really have a choice but to push through and just get it done, you know? I didn't want to, and I didn't want anything to be like different. I didn't want, I also was like, I had a lot of shame about my strokes for a long time. I was like very embarrassed by them because they just feel, what 20-year-old person do you know that's like, oh yeah, I had a stroke? Like, it's not something that happens to young people. At least it used to not be. So I was very embarrassed by all of them, but it was just a matter of me trying to get through the next obstacle of like having something else on my calendar kind of
And
thing.
and just tell the audience how old you were with your third stroke.
The
Because
third
I
one,
I remember that one well.
I think I was maybe 27.
7, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking that was about 4 years ago, maybe
It
5.
was 2019.
Yeah, so 4. Yeah,
And
so
I was
you were
born in
27.
2002. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Because
like,
I remember, yes, you had the Forbes thing going on too, but I texted you, it was some business stuff, and your
you were working
mom.
on your business stuff literally right before it happened, which was so weird.
Yeah, and I had texted your phone and your mom responded and told me it was her and she's the one told me you had the stroke. And I said, "Oh, so yeah." So all of these because our time is about to come to a close soon, but with all of these 3 strokes, and girl, yes, this could be a totally separate episode and I may have to have you back just to kind of talk about that journey, but the the 3 strokes taught you determination that you already had, but it brought out even more in you. And the reason I wanted to share that is because you were still determined to keep going and pursue your dreams and everything else, or just even your next, despite knowing that you had these things which could have been really, really major setbacks, depending on how you viewed them. Because not to take light of anybody else's situation, but sometimes people can have an ailment and just think it's the end all be all of everything and not push through it. Now, everybody's situation is different, but I think mindset has a lot to do with it as well. I think faith, of course, has a big part of it, a support system and everything else. So, looking at who you are now at 31 years young, um, suppose there's a listener right now who is in this state in their life where they want to kind of go into what their next is, or they want to shift or transition or flow into that next area of life, but something within them is keeping them from actually doing it. What would you say, not necessarily advice, but what would you say to kind of encourage them to really consider kind of going with the flow and easing into that next area of their life that could be really transformational for them?
I think something that has really stuck with me, and I guess it's a lesson that I've learned in some capacity. I don't know how, but um, things that are supposed to be yours are going to be yours regardless of what happens. So, like, if you're supposed
Mm.
to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's going to happen if it's meant for you. And if it doesn't happen, it's because it wasn't your thing to do. And you just have to kind of make your peace with that and figure out what your whatever it is whatever your redirect is, I guess. So I think just like knowing that I've had just like a lot more peace about just like kind of everything in life because it's like if it's supposed to happen, it will happen when it's supposed to happen. And I feel like when you know that, you just kind of can approach everything a little bit differently. So like even like my book, which is a pain point, it bothers me. Like it doesn't keep me from sleeping because I already know if it's going to happen, which I believe it is going to happen. It'll happen when it's supposed to, and there's some reason why that moment is not right now when I would like it to be. Um, so I think just remembering that and then just being mindful of the things that you can work on kind of like on your way to whatever that thing is that you're trying to bring into your life.
Thank you. That is very wise and sound advice, because also for me, the way that I process that is that it can help relieve pressure that sometimes we put on ourselves. Is that I am a firm believer, for example, even with me relocating and leaving the Washington, D.C. area, um, that was something that I didn't necessarily see coming. I always saw myself moving, but at the times that I I thought it was supposed to happen, it didn't happen. And it took a full 17 years before the opportunity came for me to actually do that and to transition. And people might say, well, geez, that's a long time. But, I believe also that things happen when they're supposed to happen. And I think that's very wise and sound wisdom. So, in terms of just closing this out, what's next for you? And if you don't know, just say, I don't know. And that's cool. But what's next in this season of flow for you?
Right now, I think I just want to find a good balance between my creativity and just like getting back into the practice of creating regularly, which I think I have some ideas as to ways that might come into fruition, but I'm not going to force anything because I feel like when you force stuff, it happens, but it also is not going to be as impactful as if you waited for the time to come. So like you work on things. I put the ideas that I have out there, and I'm kind of waiting on other people to see if it's something they want to be a part of or whatever. And so I think my book will be at some point a thing. It's fully written. I've interviewed hundreds of dream chasers. So the book is called Almost Finished. At least that's the title that I have right now. I don't know if that will change because it's like a weird season right now of just like I'm still kind of like doing the work of like still interviewing other people. I have changed what that looks like. So I've been doing them on Instagram Live lately. Um, but I'm waiting on like an agent, and like I think I have an agent, but they're like, oh, we'll get back to you, and I was like, okay, that was 2 weeks ago, so I'll email them again. But it's just everything happens and kind of ebbs and flows, and so I'm just kind of flowing. So hopefully things work out with them. If it does not, I'll find another way to make it happen. If it's something that is supposed to happen, which I'm pretty sure it is, just because of the project and like people have people will text me and just kind of see how it's coming, whatever, because it's a lot of other people involved in this project. So I think that's kind of like a driving factor. But yeah, so maybe that will happen. I'm open to whatever that looks like, and then I just want to get back to like creating regularly. I feel like I lost that when I tied it to like my financial like well being. So I guess that's a piece of I just want to figure out how the rest of this life stuff is supposed to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Well, girl, I can tell you that I am saying that I'm proud of you is truly an understatement. And it just makes my heart so happy just to see where you are now, even with the move out to Denver and starting this new life and just being truly authentically you. And if more people lived in the freedom and the power that you have from within yourself, and lives could really be changed. And that despite just basic human issues like anxiety or trepidation about certain things, you don't let that stop you. You continue to push forward. And I think that more people could learn from your example. I truly believe that even greater things are coming for your life and that it will work out definitely for your good and that you will continue, whether it's in an official type of entrepreneurial role or not, just your example as a human being, your kindness, your love, your heart, your creativity, your humor, your inspiration will just touch lives all around you. And just you being you is incredible. I'm so blessed to not just have you in my bloodline, but just for the way that you were raised to just be this absolutely incredible soul. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this podcast. And I love you dearly. And I know that great things are coming for you.
Thank you. Love you too. One thing that I want to mention is I think also having a family where you have people that have like these ailments and you just see them just continue to like push through and like nothing can hold them back.
That's right.
That's been something that has inspired me. So like I mean I'll speak for sure for my dad because I'm sure he won't care because I do this all the time. I'm always like, oh, I told someone about your thing, Dad. And he's like, all right, that's fine. So my dad has MS and he has just always pushed through and I've never he's had it since I was probably like maybe like 7 or something. I've known about it, and that I think is when he was diagnosed. But it has never stopped him from showing up fully as a father. And other family members also have it. So I think that has been an example for me of just like, yeah, these things might happen to us, but we're still able to be our full self, however that looks like for us. So that's something I did just want to mention because I feel like that is a huge example of like how I have lived my life.
Thank you. Yes. And of course, I know about your father's MS as well as others, but you know, I didn't know if you were going to share that or not. Of course, I wouldn't have put it out there because that's his information. But yeah, I think that's a key thing. We come from, while we might be spread out geographically and maybe not as like tight in terms of seeing each other constantly throughout the year, we come from what I consider strong stock in that we don't let conditions hold us back. We live thriving, fruitful, productive lives, and we make the world better. So I'm very happy just for the lineage and the bloodline that I come from. And just as a quick recap, as I said, audience, Danae and I are cousins, and her father that she brings up, pretty much our grandparents were the siblings, her dad's grandfather and my grandma. They were brother and sister. And so, yeah, it is obvious in the things you are doing that ain't nothing gonna stop you, and you keep on going, and I love you.
Love you too. This is so lovely. Thank you.
Y'all, didn't I tell you that? Oh my goodness, she is just an extraordinary person. It was such an honor having Danae on the Power Transformation Podcast. And please share this episode with at least 3 people that you know. And Danae did say after our interview that if you want to connect with her on social media, you may do so via Instagram. And her username at Instagram is Danae Edmonds. That is spelled DANAEEDMONDS. Danae Edmonds. That is where you may connect with her via Instagram.com, or if you have the Instagram app, you may connect with Danae at Danae Edmonds to just keep abreast on what's going on in her life. And so much is happening down the road for her that I am going to have her back as a guest because she has a lot more things coming down the line that I want this community and this podcast to be a part of. We're going to go ahead and close on out with our affirmation. I will say it once and you repeat it. And remember to join me every Wednesday for a new episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. I'll say this affirmation once and you repeat it. I trust and believe that everything is always working out for my highest good. If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.